أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. O Lord, show us the good as good and help us to stay with it, and show us falsehood as falsehood and help us to stay away from it with your mercy, O merciful one. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We are continuing on today with the second ray, second station on page 34. Again, the rays, page 34. This is about affirmation of divine unity. And last week we briefly covered what does it mean for my human side to be convinced and to confirm a necessarily existent one, and how can I really practically see it when I interact with the universe. And with this, I'll just pause and see if there's anything that anyone wants to add before we move on.
Yeah, I can add a few things. So, beautiful introduction. So, one more thing. We were looking at the options, how creation actually takes place from the verse be, and it is kun fayakun. And as you said, confirming divine unity. Basically, if you look at a flower and you can see, how do you explain the coming or the existence of that flower with all its petals and stem and buds and all pollen inside it, and all, when you study in biology, all those different elements of a flower. And the author is exploring a few possibilities, which he looked at into, can this be coming from some other matters through via composition, or can it come through non-existence? Absolutely discussed about absolute non-existence shows no quality, because it's absolute non-existence, so there's no way it can give existence to anything. And now in the third part that we're going to read, inshallah, is going to talk about how everything becomes so easy if it's attributed to the single source, the one unique absolute being. So inshallah, let's walk through the journey, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you. That was nice to refresh a little bit. So with this, let's move on. So everyone, we are reading from the rays, page 34. Thus, the ascribing of all things to a single being is so easy as to be necessary, and the attributing of them to numerous causes so difficult as to be impossible and precluded. Similarly, if all things are ascribed to the single one of unity, they become valuable, full of art, meaningful, and powerful to the utmost degree at the same time as being infinitely cheap. Similarly, if all things are ascribed to the single one of unity, they become valuable, full of art, meaningful, and powerful to the utmost degree at the same time as being infinitely cheap. While if on the way of associating partners with God, they are ascribed to numerous causes and nature, they become valueless and completely lacking in art, meaning, and power, as well as being infinitely expensive. So I think it's all about how existence is happening, just like you said, be and it is, and also how, if we really think about it, mass production of creation in general, world population, things around us, blossoming, fruits produce. How do you explain the existence of anything? It's coming with perfect ease and it's abundant. It's enough supply for anyone. There's no scarcity. It's not that, hey, I don't have water or I don't have. I think pretty much uh, the universe is made in a way where resources are available for the human being to follow the order and then to satisfy at least one's physical needs. And so, yeah, it's amazing. Like if we were to compare that to a factory, like factory producing good, how do you explain the factory that we observe in creation? Like who is the one that's producing all this? And so, and if all of this is ascribed to a single agent, then things become valuable and they're so interlinked. We can see really meaning in it and purpose, as opposed to if I end up ascribing it to the causes or what I observe in creation, or if I end up attributing the power to give existence to created thing, then everything becomes valueless. I would say the universe itself become meaningless, and then it'd be infinitely expensive because then I'll have to preserve everything in terms of, oh no, this is the source of existence of this. The tree is producing the fruit, so it's just like trying to preserve everything becomes infinitely expensive. Rather, when I know that my source of existence or the source of existence of this universe is an absolute infinite being, then I don't have that kind of stress or I don't have to worry about, oh my God, I'm not going to have enough water or enough food for next month or next week and so on and so forth. So in that way, that's how I took at least what came to me in terms of understanding the infinitely cheap part of things. Otherwise, things just becomes infinitely expensive if I end up attributing it to things around in creation. I'll take in a pause here and then check in to see if anybody has anything to add. Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
Okay, good. So sure, yeah. The sentence about if all things are ascribed to the single one of unity, they become valuable, full of art, meaningful, and powerful to the utmost degree. At the same time, this was, at the same time as being infinitely cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So this is alluding to the facility of when something is being ascribed to the single one of unity, as opposed to if, like you gave the example of the tree, and for each fruit you'll have to have a particular mold, and you have to get it so that it gets its shape, its taste, its color. You have to go all over.
That'll be expensive.
It's very extremely difficult to manage, to administer. But if you assign it to the single being, everything is easily managed, easily administered. So full of art, that was interesting. Everything comes with its different kinds of qualities, its characteristics, that if you look at the fruits example, the taste and the pleasure that one gets, and the tiny seeds in there, depends on the fruit, and the meaning side of it. So the sheer existence of anything can be studied in that way, that if everything, that the way the thing exists, how can one explain it, as you were saying it? Right? Could it be a result of different things in nature, or is it coming from the source, the absolute source that is bringing that thing into existence? And based on my understanding, that this is indeed coming from the absolute source, and then the thing gains its value based on that connection with that source, versus the other things in nature. Everything, you have to beg before everything to give its, the for each quality, for each, even just to give it shape, you have to beg the tree, so they lose that value in them.
If I have to beg the tree, hey, make sure produce round-shaped apple, so nothing's gonna be as valuable, because then I'm begging everything.
Everything, for each and every little thing, you will have to, for its next moment, its sustenance.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
From moment to moment, and for each and every little thing. And to administer it, hey, you have to negotiate with the air. Hey, air, can you go behave like this? You have to negotiate with the water, the soil, the sun.
Yeah, good point. Thank you so much for sharing. And I see that Ali Murmur. Go ahead, please.
First of all, can you please, I must have made a mess up with something and became co-host. Can you please just get out of this co-host from me, because I have no function as a co-host at all, but it is not important. 2 points attracted my attention. One of them is most of them is becoming valuable, as you were talking about. Why, if I attribute the simple example, fruit, to, let me get rid of this, okay, to a tree, why it becomes valueless? That is 1 point. Why does it become valueless? Because accidentally happened to be like this. I don't know, for no reason, because there is no particular purpose that it is prepared by a conscious being in order to entertain me. I was lucky. For example, I was walking on the street, and I have seen a wallet. It's full of money in it, and very, very valuable, whatever it is, and I found it. Yeah, it is valuable as far as the value of the amount of money in the wallet is concerned. For example, when I found the fruit on the branch of the tree, as far as the price of the fruit, it is valuable for me. But if a very important, for example, let's say the president of a country, I don't know, I don't care them, but it is just an example. The king or emperor of a huge state comes and knocks at my door, and if I give value to the emperor at all, but if I give value, attach value, and knocks at my door, and in front of everybody watching, let's say, TV channels, thanks me for something. This thank you becomes million times more than the ordinary people on the street thanks me. Ordinary person thanks me on the street. Why? The source. The source of the thing I receive is very important. If I say the source is natural development, accidental happening, and tree is accidental to be in a form that produces tree. It produces fruit. I just pick the fruit and eat it and say, oh, it tastes nice. It is, oh, I'm lucky. Yeah. But if it is a present from the creator of the owner, if you like, inverted commas, emperor of the universe is presenting that one fruit to me. Wow. I cannot eat it. I cannot eat it. Not the nourishment value of the fruit is nothing. The status that I am regarded, that the emperor of the universe is presenting a fruit to you. This is for you, Ali. Come on, enjoy it. That is a present from you. I'm not asking any price for it, just for it. Enjoy. Wow. You feel that I am a second person in this universe next to is a creator, the value-wise, next to the emperor, man. Emperor, the emperor of the universe treated me specially with this present. Of course, nothing in the universe can be the source of existence of this fruit. Only the one who gives existence to the universe is preparing the fruit for me and giving it to me. And it is, as the Quran says, although we don't notice that, everything is this is the word which is citadel. It means textual, trademarked and addressed to the one who is going to use it. Wow. This is also, that is the side knowledge. In the Quran, they say we sent them stones from sky. On them means sitil. It is testil. It is testil means recorded where it is going to hit, what the mission it is going to fulfill. Now it is told, this word is told in two senses in the Quran. One is the pebbles sent to the people. Everyone is marked. Which kind of mission they are going to do, which kind of person who is hit it. That pebble is going to hit and kill and just destroy the person. The others in the records of some of them are in the Quran, high position, and some of them are low position, but they are all testiled. I don't know how to translate it. It's again recorded, marked, designed, and protected. This book is yours. This record is yours.
Stamped?
Sorry?
Stamped? Sealed?
But, the address, let's say the envelope, there is something in it, addressed specifically to go to a person and fulfill the mission, whatever the envelope has in it. Specifically sent. These are interesting vocabulary that the Quran uses. Whatever, we can see that in fact, everything is planned, programmed, put in an order within a perfect measurement to address to particular point. It means deliberately designed. I am not an accident, and whatever air molecules I am breathing are not accidents. They are so interesting arranged, but we don't know that they are. For example, uh, everybody's provision, nourishment is designed, especially in the hadith narrations, apportioned, assigned to everyone by the omnipotent, omniscient, all-knowing creator. It means this person is going to have this orange, this time, and it is going to be created on the branch of this tree, and somebody will pick it up. This person will pick it up, send it to the market, and then in the market or store, Ali is going to buy it, and he is going to eat it, or he is going to don't eat it, not eat it, and then half of it get rotten. The half will be, it is provision. It is recorded, everything deliberately done. Nothing can come into existence and be in existence without totally followed by the order of the universe. Order is a conscious choice. This conscious choice, how do we understand conscious choice? The order itself is perfectly arranged. Perfectly universe-wide arranged order cannot happen. Even small order cannot happen by itself. Just universe is perfectly arranged in such a way that they work perfectly for a perfect purpose. Everything is designed consciously, deliberately, knowingly. So that is the value if we attribute, if we realize the source of existence of everything, who is the emperor of the universe, in our example. Now, the other one is cheap. It is, we don't realize that it costs us nothing. We benefit from the creation, but whatever exists in the universe costs us nothing. But unfortunately, what we say, we have to work hard in order to make our bread, or what they say, make our living, or something. They use this expression, maybe somebody may help me. Make our...
Put food on the table.
Yeah, put food on the table. I have to work at... No. When you are invited, when you are presented the food, you say that if it is a little bit, sophisticated, delicious food, purposefully prepared, and you like it, you say, oh, whoever prepared it, maybe a cook in a restaurant, or your mother, or yourself, your, I don't know, spouse, your children, whatever. You say you must have worked on it a lot. Okay, that's correct. As far as the capacity of the one who prepared it, it is a lot of work. How about the things, especially we see in the fruit and vegetables and grains? They are prepared, packed, everything, covered, designed, and also decorated beautifully. Huh? It is not a big word. It is enormous. Enormous. It is infinitely perfect. How much energy is used on it? Nothing. How many hours you have worked on it? Nothing. in order to create them? Nothing. Just to obtain it, bring it already existing cheap, but this cheap is extremely cheap. It means cost is zero as far as the creation is concerned. Zero cost, provisions, everything, whatever we need, comes to our aid, our help, and we say, I worked for it so much. You see, we don't notice the creation of it. We don't notice the creation of fire to cook our food. We don't notice the heat is created next to fire. We don't notice. And the cooking process is created. We do not notice. We don't notice. We just notice our labor to give the already created things in a new shape. I mean, according to our desire. New shape. We forget about the creation. Even we forget about the creation of the ability that we are giving the shape to it, but we love to attribute any value to ourselves. I do. I don't know you. I do. So I worked for it a lot. You know, that is my labor. So if you go and buy something created on the tree, which is planted 20 years ago, still the landlord says, it is my whatever produce, whatever it is. It is my produce. You have to pay me. Okay, because your father bought this land and there was a tree there. Your father died, you inherited the land, you did nothing, man. And then say that you have to pay for the fruit created on the tree in my land, whatever, yard, and I deserve to get the money for it. That is, I don't know, I find myself that when I attribute anything to myself, I am so ridiculous, so meaningless person. It doesn't know what he's doing. For myself, I am speaking. So infinitely cheap means zero cost. Thank you.
Mashallah, thank you, Brother Ali, for sharing your reflections. A lot to think about, and I think it's interesting how really we end up taking credit for things that we don't even question in terms of how it's happening. So one-sided, so blinded by what the reality is. And yeah, like you're saying, selfless, selfish, self-centered. Just looking at my side of the picture, it's my labor. And I think it all boils down to looking into really how is existence happening? How is the process of anything happening? Or we give the example of cooking, the phenomenon of even boiling water. It's a shame right now in terms of what am I doing in terms of creating? Am I contributing anything to existence? Am I creating anything? No. So I maybe just be moving paper around or things around, but as far as existence is concerned, it's not in my hand. Ali Murmur, your microphone is unmuted. Do you want to add something?
Just this is what I said before, and you are also continuing stressing on the importance of this matter. We can add this to technological productions as well. Somebody makes a laptop and says,
Yes, definitely. In our practical lives, any routines that we have as a student, we may think, yeah, I published this, it's my paper, I got my A. If we're working, anything we can be doing, guess what? I cured the patient. I wrote him a prescription. Or guess what? I won the case because I got the evidence and my client just won, whatever he was supposed to win. And so everything just gets attributed to the person themselves. And really, what are we doing? We're just following the order, but like, how do we explain the existence of anything? Even developing something, an engineer maybe thinking that, this is I designed it, now you guys are benefiting from it. You just moved a bunch of codes here in terms of you did follow the order, but what you discovered is essentially within the order. So what are you claiming ownership of? And I think this is revolutionary in terms of how we also like the industry awards people, hey, Nobel laureate, or you're the pioneer in this, or the prodigy kid who developed this. So I think it's really, I think we all need to look into these matters with the fresh lens and ultimately looking into the reality of things, that what am I attributing the existence of anything to? Thank you. Go ahead, Ali Murmur.
I don't remember in my whole life that explicitly expressing to myself, excuse me, or to anyone that I have a very sophisticated machine, let's say a phone, but a cell phone, for example, or maybe war, especially these weapons, aircraft, military aircrafts, or submarines. Oh man, the technology is impossible to imagine if you are not the expert of the subject. Impossible. Everything's so high tech. I don't see in the air people talking about, let's thank God who created the universe in an order which allowed us, enabled us, provided us with the opportunity, with the means to make this mission. Human capacity, the order includes in it all these facilities that we discover from the order of the universe and make this machine, whatever it is, high tech or simple, doesn't matter, even a pencil, but especially high tech. We never ever praise God. No. We praise the company. We praise the engineers. How unrealistic, how ungrateful I am. I don't remember that it is provided by my creator, just I applied it. I found out and applied it. That did I create, give existence to the order of this machine that I'm using, for example, right now, the computer? As an engineer, let's say I designed this program or the machine. I am the only one who made it. That's take it simple. Make it simple. Okay. Everybody admires me. Everybody gives me a gold medal or something. No one praises the one who provided this in the order, created the universe with this order so that I am utilizing it. Like, for example, we do that in a court. Let's say a person who was a very severe criminal deserves all kind of punishment, and judge judge decides he must be punished, imprisoned, well, whatever it is with this. Everybody applauds the judge. It's very rare or not at all to applaud the law system which allowed the judge to pass the judgment, verdict on this criminal man so that he deserves to be punished. We don't remember, we don't recall, we don't think. Exactly the same thing. Judge decided, no. Judge, judge just used the already existing law. And the law, of course, it is a human-made thing, but in an allegory, we have to use it. Sorry, analogy. We have to use this analogy, and we do the same thing as the judge does, functions in the court with the authority, with the order of the law. Then the universe, the same thing. I make the machine, this very sophisticated machine, which exists already within the order of the universe. Even my capacity to find out is subject to this order. Then everything, if I find the way how to make the most sophisticated computer, let's say, then I have to thank the order which allowed me to do it. Double, the other side is doubles it, and I have to understand that I am created with the ability to decipher the order and make this. So I have to thank my creator and praise my creator who has created me with the ability to discover it and make it as it is possible in front of me. Both sides are to be praised, appreciated. We don't think at all. I'm so surprised and ashamed of myself. Sorry. I don't think about it. I say, oh, look, these people are so clever. How about the order that these people discovered how to make the machine with the principles of this order? Who prepared it? Who enabled us to make the machine? Oh, have you ever seen in this society, in this civilization, somebody praises the orderer which gave us the opportunity to make the machine, and also praises the orderer which or who created the man who is able to, with this capacity, created capacity, to enable him to make this mission, find out the rules, order in the universe. Have you ever seen anybody did this? As Feriha said, I think this is the most revolutionary approach to the reality of the universe. This is the fact of the universe. We ignore the fact in the name of science, which claims to that it establishes conclusions on the fact. This is just a trick. This is nothing but magicians do. Magicians, they are magicians, really. They have to think their future. It is very, very important.
So, thank you again for sharing your comments. Important points, really. No, never heard of anyone whatsoever mentioning anything about the order itself. We may call it, yeah, it's a procedure, just follow this process, but like, what does it mean? I go from just to maybe accomplish something, step 1 to step 10. We don't even question it. We may, but again, we're so engulfed in attributing things to ourselves that, yeah, we may fail to praise the order, and consequently, there's no orderer, the one that gives the order or brings the order into existence. So it's it's a lot to reflect on in terms of how we deal with anything in our routines. And really, I would even say, like, really, where's God in the picture with my interaction or relationship with the universe? That's the biggest question, at least for now. All right. Just checking in to see if there's anyone who wants to make a comment or add anything to a very exciting discussion, I would say, because I mean, at the same time, we have to appreciate this author's writing, because we're trying to decipher it, and we're trying to apply it to our life conditions, and otherwise we'll just keep swimming in a worldview where, yeah, the God is just some entity out there, aloof, absent from anything that I'm doing. So I would say alhamdulillah to these reminders. Sarah, I saw you unmute. Go ahead, please.
I'll just add that I hope you can hear me okay. I'm using these headphones, but okay. A lot of times it's very easy for me to find following the order of this just everyday activities can appear so mundane and so ordinary and so disconnected from something meaningful. And now with what Dr. Ali shared with the example of the emperor, of the king, and how everything that we have, or that we're, that we, food or water or whatever, everything that we interact with on a daily basis is coming through this provision of this emperor of the universe that immediately that just for me shattered something ordinary that was in my perception. Like, wow, this is all actually, like, this place that I'm staying in, and this water and this food, and this is actually a provision from the emperor, and I just like that word because it indicates so much royal power and so much authority over the universe, and that this is all a gift coming. And so the second part of that was, so that was the first thing that sort of shattered my ordinary perception. And then the second thing of just following the order. So, for me, I'm not like an aviator, but I do use a car from time to time, or have to walk, or, move from upstairs to that. So I am still using this body. It's not an airplane, but it is a body. It is a vehicle. Sorry. And so it just made me feel like, okay. It just made me feel like while following this order, I am actually in the pursuit of this royal emperor, and I'm not even aware of it. Following the order is actually, whether it's to walk around or do laundry or wash a dish or turn on the water, it's actually something that has the potential to be, like he's saying, valuable, full of art, and meaningful and powerful, if we can connect it to this real reality that we're given a body that functions in a particular way, and just becoming mindful that we are receivers of it from an emperor, for me, is a game changer. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, indeed. It's interesting. The emperor in this analogy is just next to us. It's it's, I think, it's a reality that can be lived. I think if we really ponder more over the existence of things, how it is happening, like you were saying, Sarah, doing our routines that may seem dry, but like really, how is it being set up? How is any phenomenon actually happening? Movements of anything, the hands, and then at the same time, the whole earth is spinning around. And here we are. So thank you for the comment. Any other remarks from anyone? Okay, so let's inshallah hammer in on those thoughts and reflections that were shared. And with this, we can look into the second paragraph of the second station of the second ray on page 34. For since a man who joins the army becomes connected with its commander-in-chief, and he relies on him, he gains the potential moral support of the army, if it is necessary. For since a man who joins the army becomes connected with its commander-in-chief, and he relies on him, he gains the potential moral support of the army, if it is necessary. And since the power of the army is his reserve force, he acquires a physical strength far exceeding his individual strength. Since the power of the army is his reserve force, he acquires a physical strength far exceeding his individual strength. And since because the army carries them, he's not compelled to carry the sources of that significant strength of his and his ammunition, he will be able to carry out superhuman works. And since because the army carries them, he's not compelled to carry the sources of that significant strength of his and his ammunition, he will be able to carry out superhuman works. Despite being a single private soldier, he may capture an enemy field-marshal or compel all the inhabitants of a town to migrate or capture a citadel. His works will be extraordinary and of great worth. It's an interesting point. I think going back to that emperor analogy, so really, when you live with this awareness that the emperor is just right next to you, not even next door, next to you, and is presenting each moment to you deliberately. It's just a personalized message that keeps coming in. And so if, so this army analogy, I think it's very applicable if we really apply it to our cases in terms of when one is aware and connected with their source of existence, then they gain the strength of the whole universe, as in, because you know that the whole universe is acting on behalf of this emperor, like the whole estate belongs to the emperor. or in the analogy, the whole army belongs or is employed under the command of this commander-in-chief. So if you are really acquainted with your source of existence, knowing that everything is employed, the water that we're doing laundry with, or the car we may be using as a vehicle to go from station A to station B, or even our bodies, just like Sarah alluded to, in terms of how it's being utilized to connect with the universe, then in our existence, we gain this confidence of belonging to an absolute eternal source, and even everything else also become like a friend, colleague, familiar thing. Usually how we say brother and sister, the whole, like the tree or anything is really like stemming from the same or points to the same source of existence. So we just gain the strength of the whole universe. And so nothing's become scary, nothing becomes daunting. Any storm that comes in our way, in our physical lives, are, we are able to tackle it in, knowing that everything is employed by this emperor, the source of existence, and the commander-in-chief. So it's also almost also not being confident in your existence, but also, gaining like a sense of meaning and value to one's existence, that, hey, guess what? I belong to this absolute source of existence who brings this existence right now, here and then. So this creator of the universe, who's not only my creator, your creator, but the creator of all the beings that we can't even fathom. So many worlds out there, galaxies, sea worlds, underground, you name it. And even there are more that is being discovered, and which is within the order, right? We're just utilizing our potentialities, tools, and resources available to us. And so, yeah, I think that it does not become like, even with the self-centric, selfish attitude, nothing becomes like a one-man show. Rather, we are all acting on behalf of the creator of the universe. And also, just like how this author uses a lot in terms of we are mirrors to each other, or just one created thing is an index to the whole universe. So just like I myself may find several qualities that I experience manifested within me, and the same qualities are manifested all around me and are manifested within each and every one of us here. So this is also very profound, sharing and trying to understand it, because it's also interesting how later on he mentions that despite being a single private soldier, he may capture an enemy field-marshal or compel all the inhabitants of a town to migrate. So just like one person, but is really acting on behalf of the whole, of the creator of the universe. So it's just the whole universe works at your advantage. And yeah, it's interesting. And I'm just going to pause here now and check in to see if anybody wants to add anything here.
What comes to my mind is, or what comes to me is, sorry. Okay, so let's say back to my ordinary life. For me, I'm trying to apply this for my moment of living here and now. So joins the army, becomes connected with its commander-in-chief. So the previous paragraph said, if all things are ascribed to the single one of unity. So back to my need to just do daily work, daily activities. Even, I mean, I didn't even consider my body, but like I'm thinking about, okay, the water that I have to interact with, the food that I have to interact with. Now, if these are things that I'm aware belong to the single one of unity, and I can make that connection, then do all of these things now become my army? If I need to go for a walk outside, does everything I see become my army? And then how does that benefit my practical life? That was my thought when reading this. But then when I read along, it says he gains the potential moral support. Notice how it doesn't say physical support, right? It's the moral support of the army. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I need support with? Well, I'm constantly interacting with the world and constantly being forgetful of the emperor, really not connecting the quote unquote mundane things that I have to do with this emperor. So then in order to make that bridge, it's occurring to me now that by keeping in mind that the hadith that Brother Ali mentioned about provision, really everything is a provision. If I think about it, my body is a provision, the way it moves is a provision, the way my mind can think is a provision. And if this is all being provided, and I'm aware that this is all I'm just being provided a body with thinking processes. It's almost like a plane. Like a plane has this button that sets on this, and then sets on this function, but it's actually a brain that has this function and an arm that has this function. But if I look at it like an airplane, like a vehicle that navigates in the sky, in this case, navigates in the world or a home, then if I'm aware, then now all of a sudden I'm connected to the commander-in-chief. I like that analogy because it's like the one who's actually commanding everything to do what it's doing for you to use it. And that is just, for me, this author, just may Allah have infinite mercy and be pleased with him, because few words, like the words just shatter old ideas by using, for example, commander-in-chief. So now I'm aware that there's a doer, there's a commander who's commanding things. And then if I'm aware just only of this concept of this being actually being a commander and an emperor, then all of a sudden everything becomes an army that supports me in what? In being mindful of this reality, this truth that I'm always so forgetful of. And then this is how I can now be far exceeding in my strength. Because for me, Priya, we always kind of talk about like, oh, how are we going to remember this? How are we going to, live with this? My question was the next sentence. And since because the army carries them, he is not compelled to carry the sources of that significant strength. I didn't know what he's not compelled. From there, I kind of got confused. He's not compelled to carry the sources of that significant strength of his ammunition. That's the only part I was wondering what that means.
Thank you, Sarah, for your comments. It's interesting how, and we can go to that point that you mentioned, but I'm thinking about like when I'm interacting with the universe. So even though I'm benefiting from things, and the emperor may be missing in my awareness, but I think what makes it very significant in this analogy of commander-in-chief, or even like knowing an emperor, that everything is acting on behalf of it. So everything is an army. Like I'm also part of the army. So I think keeping this in mind, that the order itself does not happen to be in existence like that, or everything is subject to the order, then at least there's that connection, knowing that, oh, so there must be an orderer. Oh, so we are all part of the armies. Then there must be a commander in chief. So I think the analogies here also used in a way that also help us to make the connection, so as to not miss out the commander in chief. Because when you think about things being employed, or this whole estate belonged to the emperor, or the army belongs to the commander in chief, then there's no way to miss out, I would say, the doer, like you said. So I think the awareness here is required in terms of also like who is the establisher of this order. Like, does it happen to be just like haphazardly existent? And so from here on, then you mentioned that, and since because the army carries them, he acquires a physical and since because the army carries them, he's not compelled to carry the sources of that significant strength of his and his ammunition. He will be able to carry out superhuman work. I'm not sure right now, but let's see what Hatice Beza has to say.
Assalamualaikum. Yeah, as I was listening to all of the comments, it just struck me that the little one who is with one of our friends here is like a person with this metaphor in the text, a person who has joined the army and is connected to the commander in chief and relies on him in the way that the little one is created. So one single cry or one single indication of discomfort suddenly draws to his feet an army of people readily available to seek whatever it is, or try to meet whatever it is that is his need. And this part about, and since because the army carries them, he's not compelled to carry the sources of that significant strength of his and his ammunition, because of his impotence and recognizing his own, like in the way that he is at this stage, he doesn't need to have, I don't know, like a physical means to bring people to his feet. He just has the lightest of manner for his particular status and the stage for which he's at in his life, that simply, like the blowing of a horn, just calls an entire army of people ready to serve him, in this case, ready to meet his needs at any given moment, at any part of the day, whatever the time might be or the situation. So I feel like, just using this as an example, and I think to the degree, like a little kid or a little one is not fighting for power. They're in their being, they're fully in sync with their neediness, right? They're not hiding it. A little bit of discomfort, they're like, help me, in their own tongue of disposition. So just like that, we too have the opportunity to join the army, in recognizing our neediness to connect with the commander in chief, so that when not when I mean, we're in fact just as needy as the little one as well, but in recognizing that neediness and attributing that only the one who has given me the need, only the infinite one who has given me the need can be the one who can fulfill it, then I too can call, in a sense, an entire army to my aid, because anything from the infinite source is infinite. So an infinite amount of help that comes my way, so long as I knock, at the door of the merciful one with this awareness and recognition.
Oh, mashallah, that was a beautiful analogy, Hatije. I think at least it helps out clarify the case. And let me see, there's some comments on the chat. Sarah's saying that ringing an alarm is also a very funny way to put it. Ringing the alarm as in expressing neediness. Yeah, I think all of us are connected to this commander-in-chief, but I think we have this free will, which we are really free to choose whichever way we want to direct our awareness of existence. And yeah, I think when we are aware, and just like Khadija pointed out, with this recognition, then we are able to like follow the order in a very seamless way without even knowing who the, like, how is it being done, really? Like, when you know that everything is just an official acting on behalf of the commander-in-chief, then it's really the question of, wow, how did this come into existence? And then when we are able to point it to the commander-in-chief, then that's a win-win case. Does anyone else want to add anything here? Okay. All right. If there are no more comments, then let's move on to the next paragraph. If, I don't know, let me just double check again if anyone has anything. Okay. All right. At any point, if something doesn't make sense or if you have anything to add, make a comment, feel free to raise your hand. If, however, he leaves the army and remains on his own, he will lose that miraculous moral strength, power, and force, and be able to perform only insignificant, valueless works in accordance with his personal strength, like a common, irregular soldier. His achievements will diminish proportionately. Yeah, I think it does elaborate further on what does it mean to act on behalf of an army versus what does it mean for me to act independently from the rest of the army. That's it's impossible in a way because everything is subject to the order. So what am I really trying to do here? What am I trying to claim? But we're free as human beings. We are free to do what we want, as in within our given free will, right? Which has its limitations. And so obviously, if I act independently, cut myself from the army, then I'm choosing it as such, but I'm really denying my own reality in a way. And it's interesting also when the author is saying his achievements will diminish proportionately. So in other words, I think there's an infinite gain by working on behalf of the commander-in-chief. There's an infinite gain in it. And then there's also an infinite loss if I'm acting independently. But so just some thoughts here with this paragraph. Does anyone else want to add something here? Okay, Hatija, go ahead.
Just I was thinking this to myself, so just thinking out loud, like going back to the example of the little one, right? If he were to leave that army and remain on his own and try to meet those needs on his own, how much can, for example, a newborn do? Really, it's just crying, and crying will not physically get you anything. But rather, again, in recognition of his neediness and acceptance of that, and um, in connecting himself with the one who has given that need to him and can fulfill it, then the army is at his end. But by himself, um, he is just as need, or just as many needs. He is just as needy as the number of needs that he has. So there, it's like it looks to infinity in two respects, where he's infinitely impotent and he's infinitely unable to get whatever it is that he gets. So basically, he loses that connection to the power if he were to do it in his own name. Or when I look at myself now, in trying to in recognizing a need, right? If I attribute it to myself, or if I attribute the fruit fulfilling my hunger, then I basically cut off the connection with my creator. Thereby, it just becomes the fruit just goes into the graveyard on my stomach. It doesn't bear any fruit. There's a pun there, not intentional. But so yes, essentially, like it just it becomes very horizontal, and it doesn't have any roots anymore. I cut off the roots from what could potentially be a means for me to connect myself to my creator.
Thank you, Hatice, for pinpointing this. So really based on how much aware am I of my needs and being aware of who fulfill those needs, that much I will be able to gain in terms of making sense of my existence. All right, Sarah, go ahead.
Just the previous paragraph, the last few sentences I thought were so compelling, like really calling the reader. So I'm a little still confused about, I guess he's not compelled to carry the sources of that significant strength of his and his ammunition. I'm not sure what's my significant strength, for example, and my ammunition would be referred to if I'm reading that correctly, but the way that he says he will be able to carry out superhuman works. So superhuman works already sounds extremely exciting. Like I'll be giving a superhuman, not necessarily a superhuman power, but I'll suddenly find myself with this superhuman. I mean, it really tugs at my curiosity and my like amazement. Wow, that sounds something like really compelling. Despite being a single private soldier. So again, this was very comforting for me because it acknowledges the fact that I am a traveler or a private soldier, usually alone, to navigate this awesome universe that has like so many things going on that it could be so overwhelming all at the same time. So I like that it, single private soldier, it speaks to the fact that yes, I am alone, like we talked about last week at some point, as a traveler. Then all of a sudden it says you can capture an enemy, field-marshal, or compel all the inhabitants of a town to migrate or capture a citadel. Again, that speaks to this incredible power that almost like gets activated when we become aware of this army that is under the same authority of the commander-in-chief of the whole universe. And it's the power, like to activate it, the switch to turn it on is just awareness. I don't know, always in halakha, always when we have a discussion, it's like this light bulb that goes on that's like, wow, this seems really like a great idea and really actually easy to activate. But somehow then during the days that pass by, the forgetfulness takes over. But I just would like to emphasize this part to myself, is that the power of the army under the commander-in-chief is at my disposal. And that includes all things that I'm interacting with, or all things that I see, as long as I turn on the awareness before I interact with it. I think that's incredible.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing this. Inshallah, may our light bulbs stay enlightened until we meet next. What you mentioned is, how also we say that in a way everything is serving us. So I think to me, this last piece really connects with that, where despite being a single private soldier, he may capture an enemy field-marshal. So everything is serving us. We're utilizing it to our advantage, but at the same time, we need to turn on like the main switch to know like how is all this serving us in terms of what is all this creation pointing to, as in acting on behalf of the commander-in-chief. And going back to that point about and since because the army carries them, he's not compelled to carry the sources of that significant strength of his and his ammunition. He'll be able to carry out superhuman works. Yeah, I was also like a little thinking more when you mentioned this again. I'm like, yeah, okay, what does this mean as far as really I'm concerned in terms of what I do and my relationship with the universe or the interaction? I think maybe what an analogy that comes to mind is, let's say I have a big, I don't know, 5-story estate or chateau, or let's not mention the location, and it's really, I feel like, oh my God, it needs some painting. But if I were to take on this project alone by myself, it's going to take me at least maybe 2 years, or right, 2 years, 2 to 3 years. But guess what? Why don't I, get some help, or have people help me out, perhaps, and then maybe, let's say if I have 10 people, like friends, coming in and help me paint that chateau, it takes maybe gets renovated in 6 months, then wow, that's like superhuman work, something that was out of the ordinary. Like, wait, would have taken 2 to 3 years, but now it took 6 months. Like, I didn't even fathom that. I did not even anticipate it. And rather than me carrying the whole load on my own. So I guess when I am aware that creation is serving me and acting on behalf of a one, not of the nature of this universe, everything is employed. And also when I'm working together with the rest of creation, with the awareness that how all of us are in need to be given existence, and how all of us are subject to the order, and how all of us are coming in together. Really, we cannot separate one particle from the rest of creation. Like, even in as a teamwork, when something needs to be accomplished or achieved, the credit goes to the team. I mean, you cannot separate any member of the team from the rest of it, although everyone may have different titles, but everybody is just part of the team acting on behalf of the big organization. So to me, being able to carry out superhuman work means that, wow, if I shift my worldview with this awareness that nothing acts independently on its own, and I am equally need to be given existence as the sand in the sea, then I think there is hope that we can carry out superhuman works or live with the awareness that this whole vast universe belongs to not only the creator of you and I, but belongs to the creator of this whole big globe or galaxy that we call. So I think it also points to the absoluteness of the source of our existence. So to the degree that I'm able to notice my needs and everything within me, all the qualities manifested, to that degree I can notice that how everything else is equally an index of that which I experience, and it all points back to really who's the commander-in-chief of the army. So that becomes like the big question. So thank you really for bringing that paragraph again to our attention. But that's also something that we should all be looking more into. So inshallah, that should help us unpack more as we go on journeying within, like you were saying, individually. We're all on an individual journey. As we go on reflecting and going on our meditative journey, we should be able to see that more. Is there anyone who wanted to say something? I know I heard a little voice. Okay.
I was just going to say quickly that superhuman, as you were talking, occurred to me also, like, we are living in a human body, but like Dr. Ali always emphasizes, what makes us human is this consciousness, this spirit side that's given to us, and that this superhuman power needs to be activated through just recognizing, like, and I like the word superhuman because for me it's something that's easy to remember. Like, if I want superhumans, you watch all these like superhero movies and everyone's amazed, like the movies all sell out because everyone's amazed and intrigued by this concept of being superhuman. So people go pay money to watch entertainment movies of these superheroes, and it's something that's really like, it pulls at everyone loves the idea, so including me. So I like this concept of superhuman. Sorry. Superhuman. It's an easy reminder of how we can tap into the superhuman skills by turning on that superhuman side of me that lives in me. That's all.
Thank you for sharing. Here's the question for everyone. Who's your superhero? You don't have to answer, something to think about. Yeah, it's interesting also, like the wordings of the author. I mean, even though the way it's translated, it's very clear and vivid, and it's very applicable also to our life conditions, or like really the era or the epoch we live in. I think, yeah, this whole stories of superhero, they never go stale. And so, but we need to apply it to, our human side, like you said. All right, just checking in to see if there is any last comment from anyone. If not, then we can stop here for today. Inshallah, with the hope to pick up from the third paragraph of this second ray. So the part that says, in exactly the same way, since on the way of divine unity, everything becomes connected with the all-powerful one of glory and relies on him. So inshallah, next Saturday, we can pick up from here. Alhamdulillah, very beneficial comments discussion points to ponder over. Jazakallah khair for everyone who came in or are listening and participated. Inshallah, maybe live with this awareness of having the emperor next to us and how we are all part of this army that's acting on behalf of a commander-in-chief. Ali Murmur, go ahead.
Shakur also participated, so we are thanking Shakur as well.
Definitely, yes. That was our main guest today, Shakur. All right. With this, inshallah, let's conclude. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة سر سورة الفاتحة.